afternoon, chaps. Welcome to another video. So this time I'm working on the braking system on my Nissan powered 16 valve twin cam Mini. Hope you enjoy. Okay, just have a general overview of some of the components I'll be working with redoing this braking system. So first off, obvious one. So I've decided to buy a brand new master brake cylinder for the Mini. So this is what they call a yellow tag version, because Minis have been made for quite a few years. There's a few different types. This one for this year is a yellow tag version, and that basically has two circuits. So it has like a backup circuit in case one fails. That's why you got two lines here. Okay, so I thought I'd go for like. I've got here the brake limiter valve, or brake bias valve, whichever you want to call it. This is the original one from the Mini, which I'm going to reuse if possible. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with this one, and they're about £100 to replace, so I thought I'd try and get away with using the same one again. So what this does is it proportions the amount of brake effort to the front to the back, because obviously when you're driving and you're braking, and the majority of the braking effort is required at the front, not the back, so that's what this does. I've got some copper lines here, so I've pre-bent these, pre-made these already. Okay, I've also got some clips here just to hold the brake lines. Okay, and I've flared all the ends of these, and I'll go through some of the differences and different types of flared joints you can have in a minute. Okay, and then onto the Mini. I've done a bit of this already behind the camera, so to speak. So I've already drilled and riv nutted. I've decided to put the brake limiter valve here. So on a standard Mini, it'd be, yeah, that's the hole for it there. It'd be here, obviously with my engine, the ITBs in the way. That side position is not going to work. So I've relocated it to this side here. Okay, so my cylinder is going to be the standard position, and then I'm now going to run lines from my cylinder to the brake limiter valve. Okay, I've also I drilled a hole and put another riv nut here, so this is going to put for a pipe clamp just to hold the brake lines. Okay, so I'll get all that fitted now. To show you the difference between a double flare and a bubble flare, so I've just done these two connections on a spare piece of brake line using my flaring kit. So I've got a double flaring kit and a bubble flare kit. Okay, so I'll try and show it up. There you go. Probably not hard to see the difference, but on the right there you got the bubble flare, and on the left you got the double flare, bubble and double. Okay, so like I was saying, different parts on the Mini require either a double flare or a bubble flare. Okay, and usually you can tell which is which when you look inside the fitting. I'll find an example if I can. Here I've got my master cylinder there, and you can almost tell by the connection here that it's almost like a dome shape, so that's going to require the bubble flare I've got here on the right. Okay, so that will sit nicely in there, create a good seal. Here I've got this T-union, and you can tell by, it's hard to tell, but inside it's more of a cone than a dome. So that one will take a double flare, okay, and go over that, kind of like that edge lip there, and create a seal. So just to give you a better illustration of what this looks like, on the left here I've got a bubble flare, a component that accepts a bubble flare, and then double flare, and on the right I've got the component that will accept the double flare.
Sort of looks like a Smurf penis.
So I don't have loads of experience with this, but I would imagine if you got these two the wrong way around, it would tighten up, because obviously if the threads are the same, the actual nut will tighten up, but I'd imagine you'd have leaks, and you'd be struggling to figure out why it's leaking no matter how hard you tighten these. Okay, so you just see me install these sections of pipe that I made off camera. So just to show you how I'm making these sections, I'm about to do this piece here, which goes from my T-junction down here to my near side brake caliper at the front. So I've already done the offside going over there, so I'm just going to take you through the process I do to make a nice neat pipe section. Let's do this. So what I do is, rather than just laying the copper pipe from where I want it to go from this connection to this connection, and then just bending it by hand, which it usually works fine. So the reason why I don't do that is because when you bend a lot of stuff by hand in position, you end up with lots of little like bends in the pipe, and it just looks a bit curly, a bit shit basically. So what I do is, I've got some cheap garden wire here, and I use this to make a mock-up template of my pipe run from there, in this case, to the caliper, and I can manipulate easily, not worrying about making the copper pipe look shit and all that. So once I'm happy with the template, I take that away, come over to my bench, cut my section of copper pipe that I need, and I use my pipe bender here in the vise. And I can do some nice uniform bends only where I need to do a bend, and then install it. It looks neat as out. So let me show you. So as you can see there, I've connected via my cheap garden wire there. So I've gone down there, threaded it slightly to the right of the subframe under the radiator. Seems like a nice routing. And then just roughly placed it where I want, into the flexible line here, which is going to the caliper. So I can take that out now without bending it again. Sorry for the shaky camera. Do it one-handed. Okay. There we go. I've got my template. So that's telling me I need a 90-degree there bend, a 90-degree bend there, and then I just slight bend there. That can be done horizontally. So I can do that with a pipe bender, and it'll be a nice, neat looking pipe. So let's have a crack. Okay, as you just saw, so I've made my piece using my template. The whole method with the wire seems a bit overcomplicated for such a simple run, but it works pretty well for me. So there we go. That last little bend in the mid, I did it by hand, just easier. So the next step, I'm going to put my nuts, bolts, whatever you call them, brake unions, onto the end of here, and then I'm going to flare each of these ends. So not forgetting, like I mentioned earlier, just be careful about the flare type. So because I'm going from that T-union there, which requires a double flare, so I'll be double flaring that end, and then this end here from the original, this is the original flexi pipe for the Mini, that requires a bubble flare. So I'm going to have one double flare end and one bubble flare end.
Fucking twat.
Okay, that's in. Totally worked first time. But there you go. There's my piece in. I'll be honest, the piece had to be bent by hand quite a bit once in position just to sit nice. And I had to, because I couldn't get that threaded in, I had to thread this in onto my T-union beforehand off the car and then put this in. That made it a lot easier. So that's in. It seems to clear everything. Unfortunately, I ran out of the longer unions I need for this. The ones I've got are too short on the threads. They'll just bottom out before they've got enough time to actually enough thread to actually compress the copper line. So I need to buy some new of them. So at the moment it's just kind of placed in there for now, but that'll do. Okay, on to the final section of pipe I need to do. So as you can see, I've got my brake limiter valve in position. This line here, so this is for the front. So this comes down here into this T-union I've got here. This side will go to the offside front brake caliper, and this one below it goes down, as I've shown you before, to the near side brake caliper. So the one I need to do now is connected to the brake limiter valve here, and it needs to go to the rear of the Mini. So standard Minis, the rear, the brake line follows down this on the offside part of the car. So the existing brake line is still there, and it's, you know, roughly under the floor. So I'm trying to utilize that same path, because that path has all the clips and stuff under the body, under the floor of the Mini, which I'll show you at some point. So my plan is I'm going to do a piece out the connection here, runs down, it'll run parallel with this front line here, and because I've welded studs to the subframe to hold this pipe, I'll use this pipe as a mounting point for the second pipe running parallel, and then around here it'll dip down, go down, and it should meet where the standard pipe clamping locations are, and then essentially it's just a run towards the back. So let's give that a go. Okay, so I've just done a template of how I wanted to be. I haven't used the garden wire this time, because I've made so many balls up doing this that I had some spare copper that was pretty much unusable. So I've molded it to the shape I want. Test fitted my clips here, just put in place, bend it down. Okay, so there's no way I'm going to be able to go all the way there, all the way to the back in one piece. So there's going to be, I'm going to put a brake just down there, and I'm going to put a union in here. So that means I can use two pieces of copper. Okay, so I'm not trying to thread one long piece into here. So I'm going to take my template out, and then I'm going to make it properly and do some nice brand new straight section. There we are, that piece is in. Looking good. Not gonna lie, that was a bit of a twat to get in. It was very fiddly to get the nut into the brake limiter valve there. Okay, looks kind of neat, I think. So next step is to get underneath, and I'm going to fit my union where it's gone. Okay, and then continue with the last piece. Ooh, focus. Okay, not sure it was absolutely necessary, but I'm being a bit picky with this. So I fitted my twin pipe clips here, but it still allowed a certain amount of movement, which I'm really happy with. So I've just done a little bracket here. It clamps to this stud that I welded on previously for this pipe. So it just utilises the same mounting point. I don't have to weld anymore to the subframe, which I don't want to do. And that just picks it up and just holds it nice and sturdy. Okay, a bit close to my heater control valve, but hopefully it should be okay, even with engine vibrations, but we'll find that out. Okay, so underneath the car, so my new pipe came down here. I've threaded it from the top down there, so it's just going just underneath the steering rack. Down here I have bubble flared both ends, and I've used this U-ing here to connect to the original brake pipe, which I was thinking about replacing, but to be honest it looks quite good. So it's routed through all the standard routing sections under the Mini with the standard like old metal clips to hold it down, like I'm showing here. This is the power cable for the battery, but it's a similar sort of thing. Okay. So, and just to secure it down a little bit better, I've used some of my clips for some of these what do you call them, tech screws that they just screw into metal, so it's nice and secure. And there we are. So essentially that's the brake line routed. So okay, onto the actual brakes themselves. So at the front, what it looks like, I've got some fairly new looking calipers anyway when I bought this Mini. And yes, there's a bit of surface rust on the disc, but there's no lip. I think they're fairly good condition as well. There's plenty of meat on the pad, so I don't think I'm going to change anything on this just yet. I think in future I might change the pads, maybe some red stuff or yellow stuff, EBC brake pads maybe, but at the moment I'm happy with the condition of these, so I'm going to leave them as they are. So taking off the drum at the rear just for an inspection. So it looks like the previous owner or someone not that long ago has been in here. Looks like it's had a new backing plate. You can still see the sticker on the backing plate. The mounting nuts and bolts look pretty good. This all looks pretty good. The wheel cylinder itself looks good as well. No leaks, I can see. Plenty of meat left on the shoes. So this is all good. So someone's been here recently. So with that in mind, I am not going to mess with this, upgrade this or anything like that. That's still in pretty good condition, so I'm going to leave that alone. Similar to the decision I made on the calipers. So that's good. So I'm not going to go through the bleeding procedure or filling the system with brake fluid in the bleeding procedure, because I'm going to wait to do that towards the end of the project, I think, alongside doing all the other fluids. But essentially I'd call that the brake system complete. So, hope you enjoyed that, found that useful. So next one, I've got a lot of miscellaneous, light in my face, there you go. Lots of miscellaneous stuff to do, such as refit my ITBs. I've got to put my radiator back on, I've got to do all the pedals, I've got to fit my clutch lever and clutch cable, I've got to do the throttle cable, so lots of little miscellaneous tasks, which I'll be doing next. And then after that will become the big task, the one that I'm most intimidated about, is the wiring. So, and the engine management. So I'll be using an aftermarket ECU on this. I'm not going to use the original micro ECU because it wouldn't have worked anyway, because I've got the ITBs. So saving the scariest job to last. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Catch you next time.